Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Razak at CMTrading. Today is December 16, 2022, and today is Friday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, the Dow Jones and the Nasdaq both tumble after FOMC rate statement the previous day. Looking at the major economic events of today. So we got a bunch of them starting out at 10:15 South African time out of the European Union. French flash services PMI numbers coming out, and then 10:30 and 11:30 out of Germany and out of Great Britain. Flash manufacturing and services PMI numbers coming out. And lastly, at 4:45 South African time, out of the United States, flash services PMI numbers coming out. Now, looking at the various markets, we're watching the euro remaining strong after this massive sell-off in the U.S. markets. And major pairs are on resistance. The Dow Jones and the Nasdaq both tumbled as spoken. And looking at commodities, gold and oil unchanged. While looking at the stocks, it was Intel and Apple, the biggest losers, and cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin unchanged. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So here we go. We're looking at the Euro USD and a 4-hour chart. You could see the resilience here. I mean, we capitulated at 107. We haven't been on 107 for quite some time. So the fact that we're at these levels is really unbelievable. So we're at that level. We retraced to the 30-day moving average, and look, we kept it as a supportish area at that 106-ish level. Now we're at 106.50-ish level, so that's about midway point between these two parameters. Now, going into today, the German flash services and French flash services PMI numbers could have an effect on this, so you do want to know that these numbers are coming out. Now, looking at the GBP going into this number, not as strong. It did retrace and crossed over that 8-day moving average on a daily. Not a major issue, but a major retracement for the GBP versus the USD. If we look at the Canadian dollar, we see the same thing, getting much weaker versus the US dollar as it's tapering off at that 136 and now slowing down. If you look at that crossover, we're getting that crossover between the 8-day over the 30-day moving average. That's relatively a bullish formation. So we may see a bounce later today. Now looking at the commodities, starting out with gold, trading at 1783. We retraced here from our 1800-ish level, and we are bouncing off of this area as well. Now, looking at crude oil, just really unchanged. I mean, we're tapered off yesterday. Not a major taper off, but a taper off nonetheless. And so there's no major economic events here. Now, the real major focus here is the Dow Jones. Dow Jones trading right now at 33,475. We started the day yesterday at 34,500. Now, today's going to be a very defining moment. Are we going to sell off more, or are we going to bounce 50% to maybe 33,800, 900-ish level? That's the question, because it's looking quite resilient right now, but that could all change if the stocks are going to sell off. Now, there are some cues as which way we're going if we look at the individual stocks. But first, looking at the Nasdaq, you see we're back on our lows, okay? It's just trading within range. Whether it's going to fall off the range here, that's the big question, okay? Because this has not been strong. The Nasdaq has not been strong. There's nothing making new lows. Okay, that's what I'm going to look for today, whether or not some of the major stocks are making new lows. If we look at Apple, the bottom of the range, not making new lows, but at the bottom of the range. So we may see a bounce here. If we look at Alcoa, tapering off here at the bottom of the range. JP Morgan also sold off with a gap down, but did get a green candle into the end of the day. Okay, so we are not at the bottom. Okay, if we were literally at the bottom of this candle, of this wick, then I would say, oh, this is a bearish formation. We're going to continue selling off. But that's not clear here. So I just want to emphasize that as I'm looking at this. Now, looking at Tesla tapering off that sell-off at 157, not making new lows. But look at Intel. Intel showing some tremendous weakness here and did sell off and remain at the bottom of the range. And look, it's got some serious volume in the sale here, which means that it could continue going lower. Okay, so this is showing weakness, but it's not making new lows. If we look at Facebook, it's just trading sideways. 116, okay, that's decent. Okay, the reason I'm saying that's decent is because, listen, it's just consolidating into this area as we're looking into this. Now, lastly, looking at Bitcoin, really unchanged day to day, 17,400-ish level. We didn't do much yesterday. Just a little bit of a sell-off continued, but there at 17,400. No big news here. Okay, we are at supportish area, if you'd like to call it that, because you know, I mean, it's just trading in a range, okay? Is it at the top of the range, no longer at 18,000, but it's not breaking 17,255. But if it does, then we could see it go back to the 16,800-ish level. But it's, again, it's such a tight range that you should just play the range. Just, you know, really pick it very specific if you're going to trade Bitcoin. This is Fed Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.